Let's be honest, you'd be pretty screwed up too if your sister was taking selfies while you were going to jail. Hello everyone, I'm Sarah from Everyday Starlet. Welcome to my channel. I make videos to inspire you to be the star of your own life. Today I want to talk about Khloe Kardashian. I have some other videos on my channel about the Kardashians. I realize that this is not a topic for everybody. Some people just don't want to keep up with them, and I get that. Even if you're not a Kardashian fan, I think there's some stuff in this video that applies to a lot of women today that I think could be helpful. So maybe give it a try, even if you're turned off by the topic of the Kardashians. I do have other videos talking about the Kardashians and their family dynamic and stuff like that, but I really wanted to do a video primarily on Khloe Kardashian because I do feel like there's some things going on with her and some behaviors that she's exhibited over the course of her time and fame, and there's just some very common behaviors that she's exhibiting that I think a lot of women can relate to, so I want to dive into them. Before I get into this, my usual disclaimers: I don't know anybody in these videos. I don't know them personally. I don't know what they're like in their personal life. I am just basing my analysis on public image and what is available to the public as far as celebrity and public perceptions. So, you know, the people I talk about could be totally different behind closed doors. I don't know. And honestly, what I'm talking about isn't even about them. It's actually about what we can learn from some of these, you know, celebrities and public figures and their public images, and what we can take from that and the lessons we can learn, take into our everyday lives so that we can have happier, healthier lives and relationships. I also want to state, and I've mentioned this in a few other videos, but I want to reiterate this, that I actually do have a soft spot for Khloe. As far as the Kardashians go, you can for sure question the Kardashians' morality. And I have a video where I focus a lot on Kris Jenner and where I dive into my opinions about her, positive and negative. So like I say in most of my Kardashian videos, like if you're looking for a Kardashian hate piece, this is not the video for you. If you're looking for a Kardashian like love fest, not the video for you. I'm gonna give a very balanced view. But as far as the Kardashians go, I do give Khloe a lot more grace and empathy than I think I do the other Kardashians. Very little empathy for Kim. I have no empathy for Kylie, and I have other videos where I dive into that. But Khloe, of all the Kardashians, has gotten the most, I think, disproportionate hate. Khloe is the queen of detachment. She can detach from her emotions like nobody's business. It actually should be studied. It worries me because I really do think that it's gonna cause her a lot of health problems down the road. She has some kind of like skin cancer on the face. She's had some things where she has had some health problems and stuff in the past. And I really, again, I'm not a doctor, but I do think that suppression of the stuff that she's dealing with and like the denial of things bothering her and stuff is going to eventually come out in medical problems. She also is very open about having OCD and things like that. Very easily could be a manifestation of the fact that she suppresses everything that she is feeling. Like, it's really epic how much she suppresses her feelings and her emotions. Khloe, as much as she acts like she doesn't care about the hate that she's gotten, you can tell it bothers her. Khloe has gotten more, I would say, like body shame and beauty shame. I could say like the fact that people have literally mocked her for not being as attractive as her sisters, to the point where they actually think that she's not even like their full sister. They've accused her of having a different father, which I'm not even gonna get into because I don't care. I'm just gonna say this, like, I do believe that celebrities should be required to fully disclose things like the work that they get if they're going to promote a product. Like if they're going to get their lips done and then promote a lip product, saying that you can get the results with their lip product that you're getting through surgery, or if they get implants and they are promoting a bra and trying to convince people that you can get those results with the bra instead of the implants that they actually got. I think that is so morally corrupt. Like, it infuriates me. Like, it really does. And yes, those are both Kylie, and those are just two of the reasons why I think Kylie is the worst Kardashian, but that's a whole other topic. But there are certain things that I don't believe that celebrities should be required to disclose. Khloe Kardashian was raised by Robert Kardashian, and she had a stepdad in Bruce/Caitlyn Jenner, and that is what Khloe has known. And regardless of her DNA, or whether you believe that she's really a Kardashian or you believe she's not, or whatever, I don't care. That is not our business as far as I'm concerned. You know, there are certain things that celebrities should be required to disclose, but the fact that Khloe has gotten harassment about who her father is, she has gotten more hate about her appearance than any of the other girls by far. Like, everything that Kylie whines and complains about as far as the hate she gets is a fraction of what Khloe has gotten. And as much as I am completely anti all of their plastic surgeries and all of their ridiculous, I know I've said this before, I get a lot of hate for this sometimes, but they look like plastic sex toy dolls. Like, that's basically what they look like at this point. But of all of them, I have the most empathy for Khloe, and as much as I It's heartbreaking to me that Khloe has gotten so much surgery. I understand how she got there because she did get so much hate, like a disproportionate amount of hate, which is heartbreaking to me. I miss Khloe's old face. I miss the old Khloe, and I realize that what she's been through in her life, I think the fame was harder on her than I think she wants to admit and everything. Like, I have a great deal of empathy for her, and I'm gonna be kind of hard on her in this video. But I want to start out by just stating that my heart does break for her for some of the things she's had to go through. And I have a lot of empathy for her. I think there's a lot of aspects to her life that she absolutely did not deserve to have to go through. I just want to say that I do have empathy for her. So I am going to be a little bit harsh on her in this video because I think that there's some lessons from her life that I want to take and I want to examine, because there are a lot of women that need to hear these lessons. But I want you to keep in mind the saying that, you know, I hear all the time, and I think this is a really appropriate saying for this moment, is that your pain and your trauma and your situation and everything and your hurt and everything, like, is probably not your fault, but healing is your responsibility. I want to examine these things not from a perspective of blaming the victim or so that people can just sit there and wallow in the misery of how awful their life is or blame everything on themselves. And because the target audience for this video specifically is probably going to be women who tend to take on all the blame and responsibility for everything, whether it's their fault or responsibility, and they tend to take on everything and take on all the burdens of life themselves. That's the target audience for this video. Not everybody does that, but this is probably the audience of people that are going to be drawn to this video. I want to make it very clear that we do live in a very victim-blamey society, particularly when it comes to women. And I think especially if you're somebody who tends to take on all of the blame for everything yourself, I want to remind you that there's a both and. I think it's very valuable, and the thing I'm going to do in this video is to talk about the things that we have done in our lives that may have contributed to our situations and how we can work on ourselves, try to keep ourselves from being in these very unhealthy situations, or help us heal so we can get into the situation, the relationship that we want to be in. But that doesn't excuse somebody mistreating us. So just because maybe you have put yourself in a situation where you could be harmed, that doesn't make the person who harmed you any less responsible for them hurting you, just because you may have made it easier for them. So there's a both and here in this situation. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on what we can do to heal within ourselves so that we can not put ourselves in situations where we can be harmed. But this doesn't take away the responsibility of the actual person that's trying to harm you. And I'm going to talk a lot about mothering and mothering energy and mother energy and things like that in this video. But I also want to acknowledge that yes, there are a lot of man children in the world. Unfortunately, we have a rampant epidemic of man children, and I have a lot of videos where I go into that and some of the reasons for that and things like that. So I understand that there are a lot of women that are falling into the habit of having to mother grown adult men. Some of that is because that's what we're exposed to. It's become normalized for men to just act like children. Unfortunately, something that we have to accept as women, if a man is a man-child, if he is acting like a child, he's being a child, and he is refusing to step into being a healthy masculine man and step into manhood, and he wants to stay in boyhood, there is nothing that we as women can do about that. That's his journey. That's his choice. That's for him and for other men to figure out. It's not our responsibility as women to make boys into men. That's something that men have to do. I know oftentimes as women we can feel like, well, we can make him into a man, or we can help get him there, or like we can support him in that, or we can push him in that direction, or maybe we can mother him enough so he'll be an adult. That doesn't work. It does not work. Men need to make the decision that they want to go from boyhood to manhood, and they need to do it, and they need other men around them to do it, and it's not something that we as women can do for them. What we can do as women is make the decision not to accept childlike behavior in grown men. And that's what I want to get into in this video, is kind of like how we get into that habit and like how we can try to work on getting out of that situation. Let's look at Khloe. Khloe Kardashian, for those of you that have not kept up with the Kardashians, is the third sister in the Kardashian trio. She has 2 older sisters, Kourtney and Kim. She has a younger brother, Rob, and then she has 2 half-sisters in Kendall and Kylie. There's also like step siblings and things like that. I'm not going to dive into that. But Khloe really has like a middle child syndrome to a certain extent. Kourtney and Kim were kind of older sisters in kind of their own little competitive world. Khloe really took on the responsibility of sort of mothering, which is usually the oldest child syndrome. And I do think that Kourtney felt a responsibility of really bonding with Khloe and really being there for Khloe, and I'm actually going to get into a little bit of their dynamic in a bit. But Khloe really did step in, and it's hard to know if this was a survival skill, this was just something she naturally started doing, or something that was put on her. It's hard to know because we don't really know a ton about the Kardashian family upbringing like before they got famous. But Khloe really has stepped in as kind of like the mother sibling for her younger siblings, for Rob and for Kendall and Kylie. Kendall and Kylie have kind of said before that Khloe was kind of like a second mom to them. So Khloe really has positioned herself as kind of like a mothering sibling in her family dynamic. And that has translated into Khloe's adult life. Khloe was married to Lamar, and they had a messy relationship, but she very much had to mother him in their relationship. I'll dive into them in a minute. Then she ended up in a relationship with Tristan, who she has 2 kids with, which she mothers him, she mothers her kids, and has taken on the responsibility of Tristan's disabled brother after Tristan's mother passed away. Khloe has also partially taken in her brother Rob's daughter, Dream. I'll get into that topic as well. Khloe really has set herself up to be like the mother in her family. I have videos talking about the difference between mother energy and mothering, and I dive into like the mother archetype in a lot of other like feminine archetype videos that I have on here. So I'm just gonna kind of give a brief summary, but mother energy, like divine mother energy in divine feminine energy, is really nurturing. It is comforting. I think of it as like the energy of like a warm hug, or as warm soup on a cold day or something. It's a warmth, it's a nurturing energy. It's also only one of the feminine archetypes. So it's an aspect of feminine energy that is great to connect to. It's not the only one. So oftentimes that is one of the feminine energies that gets kind of like put up on a pedestal in the manosphere. I say pedestal loosely because that's sort of the energy that men see as being like the good girl or wife material. I'm gonna get into more of that kind of like Madonna complex and complexities of that in another video, so I'm not gonna dive into that here. But divine mother energy is nurturing energy, which is good. It's not the only aspect of feminine energy, because there's a lot of aspects to feminine energy, but it is an aspect of feminine energy, and it is very nurturing and loving. There's also the wild mother, which is actually one of the dark feminine energy archetypes that I go into in my book, and I have a video about the dark feminine archetypes. That's a little bit more still loving, but it's a little bit more, I tend to describe it as kind of like the mother bird that has to kind of push the baby bird out of the nest in order to get them to fly. So there's aspects to mother energy, divine mother energy, the wild mother, that are very healthy and natural. It's great to have a connection to those energies, but if that's the only feminine archetype that you connect with, well, I mean, you're missing out on a lot of your natural feminine energy, and it's a disservice to yourself and to the world. As much as having mother energy is great when it comes to feminine energy, it really can't be the only feminine archetype you connect to, because it tends to get wounded and it does tend to fall into mothering energy, which I'm going to get into. Now, mothering energy is very masculine. I know that sounds counterintuitive. Not to be confused with divine mother energy, which is nurturing, which is great. Not the only feminine archetype you should connect to, but it is great to connect to that nurturing mother energy. Mothering energy is actually very masculine. It's very controlling. If you think of like the wild mother as being the mother that has to kind of push the baby bird out of the nest so the baby bird knows that they can fly, mothering energy is kind of like, I'm gonna smother this baby bird so that they do everything I want them to do. Oftentimes you suffocate them. And that's actually very wounded masculine energy. Mothering energy, I think at its basis, is usually a woman who's too much embodied in a masculine energy, so she feels a need to control and structure everything. It's like micromanaging the home or micromanaging the family. That tends to feel very like overly controlling. Khloe's talked about having OCD. I mean, that's very masculine energy. When you end up in that kind of like obsessive need to control and to organize and to structure things, you're in very masculine energy. When it starts to get constricting and you start using that mothering energy to control and suffocate and manipulate people, that's when it gets into the extreme, and I think Khloe is getting into that area. That is very wounded masculine energy. And it's very dangerous. It's actually a very, very toxic behavior. And that's why I want to get into this, because Khloe is starting to exhibit a lot of very toxic mothering behavior. And some of this is extreme, it's heightened. It may be more extreme for their reality show. Again, it's a reality show, so how much of it's real, we don't know. And also, you know, the Kardashians in general live a very like exaggerated life. So I don't know how much of this is like real, but I do think that some of this toxic mothering behavior is actually a lot more common in everyday life. Maybe not to the extreme that Khloe is presenting it as, but I think it's a lot more common in women than is really talked about, and I want to get into that. So I'm gonna say this, and I want to be as empathetic as possible when I say this. Please know that I'm saying this with love, because I had to learn these lessons the hard way, so I know how this feels, and I know how harsh this is going to be for some people to hear. If you are constantly finding yourself in relationships with people who you feel like you have to be their mother and you have to take care of them, like you have to do everything for them, it goes for like romantic relationships, friendships, family dynamics of like anything other than like small children. If you are feeling like you have to mother them, probably what's happening is you don't believe that somebody would love you for any other reason than how much you can sacrifice yourself for them or how much you can do for them. And you also likely do not feel worthy of somebody actually taking care of you and being there for you and doing something for you to make your life better. It's a worthiness issue. It's not believing that somebody is going to love you or care about you enough unless you constantly do for them or constantly sacrifice yourself for them. And that's not for women, that's for men. Men are the ones that are supposed to be sacrificing. Men are the ones that are supposed to be doing. Masculine energy is doing, feminine energy is being. If you're a woman and you are feeling like your worth is tied to how much you can do for someone or how much you can sacrifice for someone, you're not in feminine energy, you're in masculine energy. And I say this with love because I want women to understand that you don't have to do for someone and you don't have to sacrifice yourself for someone in order to be loved. And I say this with love because I've been there. I still struggle with this, to be totally honest with you, because getting into relationships with men who are grown men who are basically just children has been a pattern for me my whole life. I grew up in that kind of environment. That is all I knew. That is what I kept repeating as a pattern. And I've had to come to a lot of really hard conclusions that my worth is not tied to how much I can do for someone else. And part of that is, I know as women we can think how much we do for a man or how much we sacrifice for a man is going to get us love. Like we think if we do these things for him, he will love us. That's not how it works. Men only appreciate what they had to earn. So if you keep doing for a man, you keep sacrificing yourself for a man, he will never appreciate it because he didn't have to work for you. Men don't fall in love with you based on how much you can lie yourself down as a doormat or how much you can be a helpmate to him. They don't fall in love with that woman. They might take advantage of that woman, but they don't fall in love with that woman. They get used to her being a convenience for him. It will weaken him for one, because he's getting something that he hasn't earned, which weakens men. And he won't appreciate it because men only appreciate that which they had to earn. Women are the opposite. Men only appreciate that which they had to earn. Women only appreciate that which they were not expected to earn. If you think about it, it's like for men, the trophy that he really had to work for, that's the one he puts on the mantle. That's the one he displays. Like that's the thing. That's why we have like trophy wives. It's because like the woman he really had to work for, that's the prize that he wants to show off to everybody. That's why women are the prize. Men only appreciate what they had to earn. Women only appreciate what they weren't expected to earn. So if you think about it as a woman, that's the reason why if you ask a man to do something, like say you ask a man to give you flowers and he gives you flowers, it's nice, but a woman will never appreciate it as much as if a man just bought her flowers just because he was thinking about her and just gave them to her because, you know, he wanted to give her something. Like her having to ask for it is like earning it and she had to do something to get it, it doesn't mean as much as if it just comes to her without her having to do anything. It's just how men and women are different. We're just wired differently. Women appreciate that which they were not expected to earn. Men only appreciate what they had to earn. So if you as a woman are trying to make a man's life easier and you're trying to bring to him and help him and stuff, he won't appreciate it because he hasn't earned it. But you as a woman, we're never going to truly appreciate anything he does for you in return because you were forced to earn it. It's not going to mean as much to you. That's why the masculine is doing, the feminine is being. The feminine just has to be, the masculine has to do. I know there's a lot of people that want to pretend men and women are the same. We're just not the same. We're wired differently. So that's why when women start getting into mothering energy, it usually is coming from a place of feeling like you need to earn love, you need to earn your worth, you need to prove to somebody that you're worthy by doing for them and constantly caring for them. But it really is kind of about control. It's about feeling like if you are constantly being a mother to your partner, for example, you know, being a mother to a grown man, that eventually he'll love you because look at how much you've sacrificed for him. Look at how much you've done for him. Almost like he owes that to you, and it becomes kind of a sense of control in a relationship that you may feel like you don't have control over. And it really is starting to feel like Khloe is using this role she has of being like the mother, or being the mother in her family. I'm not talking about taking care of her kids, but I'm talking about being a mother. It's becoming a control tactic, and it's becoming a desperate need to like prove her worth. And Khloe clearly has some worthiness issues. I think some of it, when it comes to sibling dynamics, is interesting because, and Khloe's even mentioned this, but you can even watch it if you've watched their show and you've watched the kind of evolution of particularly the 3 Kardashian girls. As much as Khloe has felt like she needed to mother her younger sibling, Kourtney has kind of been the older sibling that was always looking out for Khloe. If you kind of look at some of the times when Khloe's hit lows in her life, Kourtney's been the one that's been there for her. It used to be early on that it was kind of Kourtney and Khloe kind of like against the world, and oftentimes against Kim. Khloe has shifted very much to desperately needing Kim's approval and is really latching on to Kim. Kim's approval is conditional. Kim will only befriend Khloe if she thinks it benefits her. That's Kim's dynamic. Kim only does things that benefit her. She only accepts Khloe if she deems Khloe to be kind of good enough for her world, so to speak. And I think it's actually, like, it really does kind of break my heart because I do feel like Kourtney feels like her and Khloe don't have as close a relationship because Khloe has really aligned herself with Kim. And I think that there's something to the idea that Khloe doesn't really believe that she deserves to be loved and to be loved unconditionally, so that Kourtney really loving her and supporting her and being there for her, it's almost as if Khloe's kind of rejected Kourtney to a certain extent because she doesn't believe she's worthy of that, and she's aligned herself more with Kim, who Kim and Kris have a similar attitude about like the conditional love and the what can you do for me and things like that. That's what Khloe knows, and that's what Khloe thinks she deserves. So I think even just in the sibling dynamics with the sisters, there is a sense of Khloe not really feeling worthy of being treated well. So even when she does have a sibling that really does love her for her and wants to be there for her and support her, Khloe doesn't feel like she deserves that, so she goes to the sibling who kind of treats her more like she has to earn her approval, which would be Kim. You see that a lot, like Khloe has been, you know, claiming that Kris didn't love her as much for years. Even like Khloe just started a podcast recently, which I find really ironic because there was an episode of the new Kardashian series where Kris told Khloe she should get a podcast, and Khloe literally like flips out at her mom and is like, you never help me with anything, you just come up with ideas for things for me to do, but you never help me, I don't have a support system, I don't have a team, which is probably true, but it also does seem like Khloe is not someone who is willing to accept help and support. She's the type who wears it as a badge of honor that she does everything herself and that she doesn't feel worthy of help or doesn't feel worthy of a support team. So she can complain about not having a support team, but yet she doesn't feel worthy of one, so she would push one away anyway. I've been there. I mean, I still work through that kind of stuff, so this isn't a judgment. This is about awareness, and I'm willing to bet there's a lot of women listening that probably feel like they're in that same situation. I know I see a lot of myself in that statement. So, you know, I can complain all the time about like not getting any help, but I also oftentimes push away help when I do get it because I don't feel worthy of it. And I've struggled with this too. So that's why I see it in her. So I'm not saying this as some kind of a judgment or to be cruel. It's a harsh reality that I'm dealing with facing myself. So if you are seeing yourself in this, please know you're not alone. So let's get into Khloe and Lamar. Lamar was Khloe's first husband. They got married on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. They were not dating for very long before they got engaged. They got married very quickly. And I will admit, when I watched the show, I was very invested in their relationship. I swear, if you go back and you watch those episodes of the show, and especially if you watch like the wedding special, I don't think Khloe's ever been happier. Like, Khloe is literally glowing. And it's her old face. It's the face that everybody said was so unattractive. Happy Khloe with her natural face is a million times more beautiful than Khloe will ever be with tons and tons of plastic surgery. I'm sorry. Khloe has never looked better than when she was happy. I know her relationship with Lamar was very complicated. And it's interesting, I actually remember reading somewhere that Lamar did an interview where he said when he saw Khloe, she had eyes like his mom. And those of you that don't know, Lamar lost his mom at a very young age and then was being raised by his grandmother and then lost his grandmother. His father had drug issues and stuff. He was essentially orphaned at a pretty young age. So Lamar's kind of always been searching for a family, and I feel like the fact that he saw Khloe and thought her eyes reminded him of his mom's, it's not that surprising that he would become so attached to her so quickly. And then also, he really was looking for a family. He's an only child. He really didn't have a family growing up. So he was looking for a family, and I think he really felt like he found that in Khloe and in her family. And as much as I really do believe that Lamar truly loved Khloe and that Khloe truly loved Lamar, Lamar had some addiction issues, and I don't know, on the show they kept it very quiet. Like, I don't think that people were really privy to all of the problems that Lamar was going through on the show. They kind of kept that more under wraps, and that's why I think there are a lot of people that are like, why does Khloe keep forgiving Tristan but she hasn't forgiven Lamar? I think the things with Lamar were actually a lot worse than we were even privy to, and I'm not sure if it was because because he did have enough respect for Khloe to keep things out of the public eye more. Not justifying anything that he's done in that situation, but I don't know if it was that or if it was just because he was more aligned with the family, that maybe the family, primarily Chris, was able to keep some of that stuff out of the public eye. I also think it's interesting, Lamar was known for, you know, being involved with drugs and visiting brothels. There is an aspect to that where he's hiring professional women who are less likely to sell their story because they're being hired to do a job, no pun intended, as opposed to Tristan, who I'm going to get into, was fooling around with like regular women who were all the more willing to be very public about it. But I've always felt like, as much as I'm not justifying anything that either Lamar or Tristan has done, I do find it interesting that Lamar's stuff was much more on the down low. It was much more quiet, so it wasn't as publicly humiliating to Khloe. Like, I'm sure it was difficult for her behind closed doors. Tristan has been much more just like careless about whether or not Khloe looks like a fool or not in this situation. So I do think that there is a difference there. But as I've said in other videos, and I have a lot of other videos talking about relationships and addiction, you can't be in a relationship with an addict. You just can't. Like, it's not going to work. But the fact that Lamar clearly had some addiction problems, and Khloe has even mentioned that like when she married Lamar, she took a look at like his finances, and like as much as he was a very successful basketball player and was making very good money, I remember Khloe saying that like he was spending his money so poorly, that there were other people that were taking advantage of him, that like, you know, he was just living in a way that was not sustainable, and she really had to step in and get his life together essentially. It's twofold in that situation, right? Because Khloe, obviously, like, that's her personality, is to have to step in and take care of grown adults who should be able to take care of themselves. Like, she's got that mothering quality to her. So she did step in to do that, but also that's what she believed she deserved. So that's what she was attracting in, is men who needed somebody who was a mother to take care of them. So it's kind of twofold. Like, again, she kept ending up in that situation because that's all she thought she deserved. So that's what she's attracting in, and she's going to attract guys who are just going to kind of expect her to do that. Like, again, I do really believe there was love there, and part of the reason why I find it so heartbreaking, especially now, because they just did an episode of the new season of the Kardashian show where Khloe and Lamar kind of like reunited for a conversation. As of filming this, I've only watched the first half of that conversation. I think as of when this uploads, the second half of the conversation will have aired, but I haven't watched it yet because I wanted to get this video up. Not that I think anything in that conversation is going to change my opinion about Khloe and what she's been through, but just to know where I am in the show. Khloe reunited with Lamar to have a conversation, and it's always heartbreaking to me to see what addiction can do and how much it can really destroy anybody's life. I mean, Lamar granted he had a tough time growing up, but this guy had a very successful career. He made great money. He was a great basketball player. He had so many things going for him in life. And he had a woman who loved him, who he loved, and addiction can take down anyone. Like, it can destroy anyone's life. And I really do believe that if Lamar had not had the addiction problem, I really do believe that him and Khloe could have made it work. And maybe that's just the hopeless romantic in me, but I really do believe that they really love each other and that they do still love each other. You can tell Khloe, again, she's going into her detachment of like, his words mean nothing, I'm numb. I think that she deliberately is making herself numb and making herself detached because she does not want to fall in love with him again, because she probably still is in love with him. And she's keeping that wall up. She's got that wall up and she's guarded because she doesn't trust him. She doesn't trust her feelings. And I think she very easily could step into falling for him again. And so she's protecting herself. And I'm not judging her for that, mind you. She's been through a lot and it's totally understandable. But I think that's what it is. She's detaching her feelings from him because she doesn't want to open up the door to fall for him again because of everything she's been through. He notoriously had an incident where he ended up overdosing. He ended up in a coma. He had to basically learn to walk and talk again, and Khloe like stepped in and was there for him and helped him out, even though their relationship was basically over at that point. Again, stepped in as the mother figure that he needed, and I'm not faulting her for that at all. Like, I think that's an amazing thing that she did for somebody who had hurt her and for somebody who she was trying to get over. I do think that that's an amazing thing that she did for him. I'm not dismissing that. However, you can't deny that there isn't an aspect to that she was doing that because she really wasn't ready to let go. And also because then she got to feel like she was the one that he would turn to and be like, you were so good to me. You were so selfless. You were so good to me. She gets to kind of feel like she won because she was the good one. She sacrificed for him. She was the one that did everything right. And she probably was, but I do think that she's doing that a little bit to kind of be able to hold that over her head as like she was the perfect wife. And again, I'm not saying she should have done anything differently. I'm not saying that it was the wrong thing to do by any means, but I do think it was also coming from a place of her wanting to feel like she was in the position of power in that situation. And the fact that even in their reconnecting, like, she had saved things for him. She was keeping them all these years because she knew he wanted them, and her giving him back his stuff is still that way of being like, I want to show him how selfless I've been for him. I want to show him how much I've done for him and how much I've been there for him. And like, almost like she's still holding on to wanting the credit and the validation for having been the perfect wife, of having been the self-sacrificing one, of having to basically essentially step in and mother him. And there's still, and I say this with love, it's martyrdom. It's basically martyrdom. Khloe has said recently in a podcast, Khloe has a podcast now, even though she yelled at her mother for suggesting she have one, but she has one now. And I haven't watched it. I don't really have any intentions to watch it, but I did see a clip of it where Khloe was kind of referencing that her relationship with Lamar and what she went through was so much harder than her relationship with Tristan and everything Tristan put her through. And I think a lot of people were surprised because I think she was much more publicly humiliated with Tristan than she was with Lamar. I think that that's because she truly loved Lamar. I don't think Khloe ever truly loved Tristan. I know they have kids together, so I know that's probably not the right thing to say, but I think that Khloe was truly in love with Lamar, and I think after that relationship didn't work out, I think that Khloe has completely shut down being able to love and connect to someone. So I think that may even be the reason why she went for Tristan, was because she knew Tristan was gonna hurt her, and it's reinforcing her idea that everybody hurts her. Khloe gets involved with Tristan Thompson, another basketball player. Tristan already had a woman pregnant when he started dating Khloe, and then got Khloe pregnant. Tristan never actually has only one woman pregnant at a time. Tristan had a woman pregnant, then gets Khloe pregnant, and then him and Khloe agree to have a second kid, which I called. I knew, even when they split after she had True, I called it. I said, she's gonna have another baby with that man. Because the Kardashians, particularly Kim and Khloe, have this weird obsession with having to have all their kids by one man, regardless of who the man is. Which is odd because Kris didn't have all her kids by one man, Kourtney didn't have all her kids by one man, but like Kim and Khloe have this obsession with having all their kids by one baby daddy, which I actually think is rooted in a superiority thing, because I think that, like, Kourtney doesn't have a reputation for sleeping around. She was with Scott for so long and stuff, and she's had a couple guys she's dated, but Kourtney doesn't really have like a reputation for being like super promiscuous. So I don't think she felt the need to have all of her kids by one guy. But Kim and Khloe have been very promiscuous. They have slept around. Kim had a sex tape. Khloe's been rumored to have been on like tour buses with rappers when she was underage and things like that. Like they have very promiscuous reputations. So I feel like this obsession that both Kim and Khloe have with having all of their kids by just one guy is a way of being like, well, I can't be that promiscuous. I'm not that slutty because all my kids are with one guy. Whereas like somebody like Kourtney doesn't really have anything to prove in that sense because she doesn't have that same reputation. So it's kind of like she doesn't care if her kids are by two different guys because like she has nothing to prove to anyone. Whereas I think Kim and Khloe have this idea that they need to have all their kids by just one man because that makes them like less promiscuous than the rumors claim that they are. I don't know. I think it's an image tactic, to be honest with you, but that's a whole other subject. But the fact that Tristan can never have only one woman pregnant at a time, so like every time one woman gets pregnant, he has to get another woman pregnant. He's done that twice now, so it's a pattern. But I honestly think that Khloe keeps taking Tristan back and keeps Tristan in her life because she can kind of justify it because they have kids together. So it's like, I just want to keep my family together and stuff like that. But again, Tristan loses his mother. Khloe steps in and tries to take care of everything for him, for a grown man. As the mother figure, she steps in to take care of him. Now I realize that, you know, he is the father of her kids, and I realize that Tristan's mother was the grandmother of Khloe's kids, and I understand that. Not necessarily saying she shouldn't have, but the fact that she basically stepped in and was essentially caring for Tristan, who's a grown man. Khloe steps in, starts taking care of Tristan's disabled brother. She steps in that situation when it's like Tristan is very financially well off. He can hire people to take care of the situation. Tristan should be required to take care of the situation on his own. It's not supposed to be Khloe's responsibility to take care of Tristan's family. They're not married, and Tristan has proven time and time again that he's not faithful to Khloe. She doesn't really owe him anything, to be honest. I don't really know where Khloe and Tristan stand, but I feel like the reason why Khloe has been able to forgive Tristan so much is because she knew what she was getting into with him. She knew he was a sleazeball. She knew he wasn't going to treat her well. I don't think she believed she deserved to be treated well. And I think that she was so heartbroken over Lamar that she just shut down the ability to feel anything. So whatever Tristan does to her, whatever the public humiliation is, she just packs it up in a little box and just stores it away in storage. And she's got so much baggage and storage that, you know, it's just piling up, because I don't think she's ever really loved Tristan the way she loved Lamar, because I don't think she'll let herself love anyone because she doesn't think she's worthy of it. And she is using being this step in and mother everybody as an excuse for keeping people in her life and keeping people loyal to her. I think that's kind of a manipulation tactic with now Tristan's got 2 other baby mamas, but yet Khloe's the one that's the most financially successful, and Khloe's the one that's stepping in and taking care of Tristan and taking Tristan back every time, and like she's fighting to be the superior baby mama in that situation, so Tristan will spend more time with her kids. And I'm gonna get into why I think that's happening in a minute, but this, I'm gonna forgive Tristan. It's part of her martyrdom. I'm gonna mother him. I'm gonna take over as the mother for, you know, him and his family and everybody. It's a control tactic to keep people close to her. It's like I can be more self-sacrificing than anybody else to keep people depending on her, because she only believes she's worthy of love if somebody is dependent on her. And again, her children are dependent on her. She should be taking care of her children, and I'm not knocking her for that. But I think she's gonna have to keep an eye on using this mothering as a control tactic, even with her kids as they get older. And I mean, only time will tell if that happens, but it does feel like that's a big possibility of what might happen. Now, Khloe has her niece Dream a lot, and I wanna get into that a little bit. So those of you that aren't familiar with the storyline, I'll give a little bit of backstory. Dream is the daughter of Rob Kardashian and Blac Chyna. Blac Chyna is in a relationship with Tyga. They have a kid together. And Tyga had an affair with Kylie Jenner when Kylie was not legal. And yet he is not in jail. Whole other conversation. Anyway, Blac Chyna gets involved with Rob. Honestly, I believe as revenge to get even with that family, because the whole family basically sided with Kylie, defended Kylie's relationship with Tyga. So Blac Chyna kind of swooped in, and Rob Kardashian was obviously having a lot of problems in his life. I don't even think we really even fully know what Rob's been going through. He's been more private, and I don't want to just like speculate on what he's been dealing with, but he obviously was dealing with a lot. Blac Chyna kind of swooped in and had a relationship with Rob. They were engaged. They had Dream, their daughter. Never got married. They ended up splitting, and there was a whole lot of complications, and this isn't really the point of the video, so I'm not going to go into this, but basically the Kardashian family had a lot of issues with Blac Chyna. Blac Chyna ended up suing Kris, Kim, and Khloe. I'm still not even totally clear what the lawsuit and what all that stuff was about, and that's not even relevant to the video, so I'm not going to go into that. I'm just kind of giving you guys a backstory. A lot of you probably already know this, but essentially it seems like Blac Chyna and Rob seem to have a decent co-parenting situation. So Dream splits time with her mom and with her dad, but it does seem like, at least based on public perception, based on the media and everything, that Dream seems to be, when she's supposed to be with her dad, she does seem to be with Khloe a lot, which is her aunt. And I don't see anything wrong with Khloe helping out her brother and, you know, helping him take care of his daughter when he has custody of her. And also, Dream is just a little bit older than Khloe's daughter True, so the fact that, you know, they're cousins, they get to hang out together, don't have a problem with that. I've seen Blac Chyna asked about that, and like she says, when Dream's with her dad, as long as she's taken care of, that's fine. On the surface, not that big a deal. Khloe has been really positioning herself as like Dream's second mom, and kind of almost implying that Dream needed a mother to step in and take care of her. And Khloe really does seem to be harboring a lot of resentment towards Blac Chyna for the issues that they've had together over the years, which in reality weren't really about Blac Chyna and Khloe. They were actually more about other members of the family. Khloe just kind of got in the middle of it. I will say that I do find it troublesome that Khloe is so obsessed with the idea of forgiveness when it comes to Tristan, and no matter what Tristan has done as far as publicly humiliating Khloe, as far as cheating on Khloe, as far as, you know, claiming that he was faithful and then getting other women pregnant and all of this kind of stuff, no matter what Tristan has done, Khloe's all like, I will forgive people I care about, I will forgive people I love, which I think is actually because she doesn't really love him. She shut that part of herself down and doesn't think she deserves better. That's beside the point. But yet she has an issue with Blac Chyna that's not even nearly as humiliating. And Khloe clearly has not been able to forgive Blac Chyna for their issues. Like, that to me seems kind of hypocritical. Like, okay, you'll lie yourself down and act like a doormat and let this man mistreat you, but you have an issue with this woman who happens to be like the mother of your niece who you claim to love and are caring for, but you can't seem to get past that situation and forgive her, at least publicly. But Khloe really has started to feel like she's overstepping her boundaries as Dream's aunt, and is really positioning herself almost like she's Dream's mother. And I understand, like, again, having an aunt that's close to you or something and getting to spend a lot of time at your aunt's house because maybe, you know, your dad needs some help taking care of you, and, you know, you have cousins there, so you have people to play with and stuff. Like, I don't think that that's inherently wrong, but it is starting to feel like Khloe is overstepping her role as the aunt into positioning herself as a little bit more like Dream's mom. And I didn't think it was so concerning until recently. Tristan made a video saying that he had 2 daughters. Mind you, he has 4 biological children that we know of, but True is his only biological daughter. He made a comment, some kind of social media post, that he has 2 daughters, Dream and True. Now, Khloe and Tristan are not married. They were never married. Legally, Tristan has no ties to Dream whatsoever, other than the fact that Dream is Tristan's daughter's cousin. So him stepping in and implying he is a father to Dream is weird. Like, it's just weird. I understand if he were to say, I have 1 daughter and I have someone who's a niece, so to speak, even though she's not technically a niece. A niece or my daughter's cousin is like a daughter to me or something like that. Like, that's one thing. But like actually implying that she's actually his daughter is weird. So that's where I started to get into, okay, Khloe and Tristan like have this weird like undefined relationship that's just bizarre. And now Khloe is positioning herself as like Dream's mom, and now Tristan is positioning himself as Dream's dad. That's getting weird, and Dream is really, I don't know, I'm starting to kind of worry about her and where she is in this situation. I do know that Blac Chyna stood up and basically made a statement saying that she doesn't normally talk about this stuff, but like she's really not happy with people using her daughter for clout and stuff like that. That Dream does have two parents. She has a dad and a mom, and that they have a great co-parenting situation, and that they split custody and stuff, and like more power to her for standing up for herself and her daughter. I got to thinking about that and how some people have been critical of the fact that supposedly Tristan, again, this is just what I'm hearing, so they're just rumors, I don't know the actual story, but this is based on what we do know. It doesn't seem like Tristan has a lot to do with his older son, just kind of, he just sees his older son sporadically. Then he has True, and then he has another child with another woman that apparently he supports financially, which he should because it's his kid. Don't come for me. If you as a man make a kid, you should support them financially. I don't care. I don't care the situation. It's my understanding that he has never had anything to do with that child. And then he has Tatum, who's his other child with Khloe. So he's spending his time with True and Tatum and Dream, and he's not having much or anything to do with his other two biological kids that he has with two other women. I actually wonder, and it's just a theory, it's just speculation, so don't come for me. I wonder if these two other women are like avoiding pushing Tristan having much to do with their kids because they're afraid that Khloe is gonna step in and try to get Tristan custody of either or both of those kids so she can feel like they're a family, because she's kind of taking Blac Chyna's kid. Like, again, I know Blac Chyna still has custody of Dream, and she still has Dream, like they split custody and stuff, but it does feel like Khloe is kind of stepping in and trying to like take on Dream for herself, almost as like revenge for Blac Chyna. And I kind of wonder if some of Tristan's other baby mamas aren't having that in the back of their mind of like, you know what, I'm not gonna push him spending time with his kid, because if Khloe decides to step in and like take custody of my kid for him, essentially, to like kind of make them into a family and like get rid of any outside baby mamas, Khloe has the money and resources to do that. So again, I'm starting to feel like Khloe's like need to mother everything and control the situation, and is trying to make things like this is my family and she's in control of everything. It's starting to feel toxic. And again, I don't really know if that's what's happening, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tristan's other baby mamas aren't like, you know what, I'm not going to push the issue because I don't want to lose my kid. Again, it's a stretch, but I feel like I could see them thinking that way. This is where Khloe's like mothering energy is starting to feel toxic. Like she's starting to take on like other people's kids almost as like a revenge thing. I mean, I think she's doing that with Dream against Blac Chyna. And again, like, I hope that Dream is being taken care of, and I hope that she's safe and she's being raised in a loving environment, and that everybody is showing her love like they should be. But it's starting to feel like this is becoming a control tactic where Khloe's like, I'm gonna take care of Dream so much that Dream rejects her mother, or Dream loves me more than, like, as like a revenge thing against Blac Chyna, because she's still holding resentment against her. Why she would resent Blac Chyna more than she resented Tristan, I mean, that's not the direction I would go in, but it does feel like that might be what's going on. And I'm gonna say this might be controversial, and I know there's gonna be people that are gonna argue with me. I know I'm gonna get probably some pushback for this, but I'm sorry. If you are a man who has proven that you will cheat on your partner continuously, so you've proven that you have absolutely no sexual discipline, that you can be in a committed relationship and go around sleeping with other women to the point where you're impregnating other women, I don't think you should be allowed around children. I don't. And I seriously hope that Khloe's kids, Dream, and all the other Kardashian nieces and nephews and like everybody, I seriously hope that they're safe. I know you know, this is Hollywood, you know, this is LA, this is like a whole other world, and there's probably a whole lot of stuff going on that like the Kardashians grew up with and that their kids are gonna grow up around, but I hope that they are safe. I personally would, if I had kids, would not allow somebody like a Tristan to be around my kids, even if they were like his kids. I mean, I wouldn't have kids with Tristan, but like, I'm just saying, like, I just don't believe that a man that has proven that he has no sexual discipline, like even when it comes to adults, I don't believe he should be allowed to be responsible for kids. For a lot of reasons. He's proven he has no sexual responsibility, so what's to stop him from, you know, where I'm going with that, but also like what's to say he's responsible in any other way as far as making sure that the kids are safe. So I know that's going to be controversial. I just don't believe that a man that has proven that he can't be trusted should be allowed around kids, and I hope that the kids are safe, but it breaks my heart to think of like what could actually be going on in that whole situation. So I just, again, I don't even want to think about it, but I just hope the kids are safe. And honestly, this like mothering to the point of martyrdom that Khloe is exhibiting is a type of pick-me behavior. I have a video going into all the different pick-me archetypes, but it is a deep need to feel worthiness by getting male validation. So it's this sense of like, how much of a martyr can I make myself so that someone, very often a man, will love me? And Khloe exhibits a lot of that. Khloe exhibits a lot of this, like, let me prove to you that I can be a doormat. Let me prove to you that I can do for you, that I can sacrifice myself for you, that I can take care of you, that I can mother you, that I can manage your finances because you obviously can't, that I can, you know, I can hold your stuff for a decade because I'm the one that's doing for you. And that way of like holding on to somebody in that way, it's like that sense of keeping control over them, that I can keep forgiving you over and over and over again, that I can take care of you and take care of your family and take care of everybody, and that I can take care of everything to make your life better at the sacrifice of your own life, just to get that validation because you don't feel worthy of love any other way. Like that kind of like martyrdom in women is rooted in pick-me behavior. And I say that with love. Like I know a lot of people are like, that aren't familiar with my content, think that I'm just shaming or judging people for being pick-me's. I have a lot of empathy for people that have pick-me behavior. I've done this before. I've literally made myself into a doormat thinking that someone would love me, and I just got walked all over, because that's what happens when you make yourself a doormat, is people just walk on you because you're on the floor. And I get that, and I have empathy for that, and I want women to heal from that, because I want women to understand that you're worthy of love and you're worthy of being with somebody who loves you and treats you well, and you don't have to sacrifice yourself and you don't have to suffer and make your life miserable to get love from other people. And I want women to heal from that. It's actually why I created my Recovering Pick Me Girl guided journal. So you can check that out on Amazon, because that actually has information on all the Pick Me Girl archetypes. There are several of them, so even if you don't think that you're actually like what we think of as a stereotypical Pick Me Girl online, you probably are exhibiting some Pick Me behavior in some way, because it's so deeply ingrained in our culture that most women are exhibiting it. If you want to like kind of learn a little bit more about the Pick Me Girl archetypes to see if maybe you identify with them, I have a video that goes into the Pick Me Girl archetypes, and then I have my guided journal, Recovering Pick Me Girl guided journal, that actually goes into like how to heal from that. It's got a lot of exercises, journal prompts, and things like that to really help you kind of recover from your Pick Me Girl energy, because I've been there. I get it. Like, and there's so many different types of ways that as women we seek male validation that just are never going to be truly satisfying for us. And again, this isn't about hating on men. This isn't about never wanting a relationship or anything like that. This is just about healing the parts of yourself that are so desperate for male validation that you're willing to put yourself and your own morals, values, or your own safety at risk just to get male validation, and to heal yourself from that like desperate need for a relationship. So if you do desire a relationship, you can get into a healthier one. If you don't desire a relationship, then you can actually have a healthy, fulfilling life without one. But you know, it's your choice either way. But I want women to learn to heal from this, because like honestly, again, some of this stuff might be hard for some women to hear. A lot of these lessons were hard lessons for me to learn in life, but I see so much of like myself in Khloe, and also so much of so many other women in the world in Khloe and some of the behaviors. And I really do think that Khloe's behavior is getting really dangerous and toxic. She's suppressing her emotions so much, it's really gonna catch up with her if it hasn't already. And it's getting to the point where it does seem like she might actually be putting her kids or her niece or maybe even her nieces and nephews or something at risk. Like I hope it's not at that point, but it does seem like it might get to that point. So my heart breaks. My heart breaks for her, even because I have a lot of empathy for her, because I do feel like this is just so ingrained in her and she just doesn't feel worthy of somebody actually loving and caring for her, and I wish that she did. I wish that for every woman, but I do see the direction she seems to be going with this, and I do really think that it's gonna get destructive. Like, it's great that she loves so much, but this is starting to become not about love, it's about control, and it becomes about revenge in some cases. It becomes about this martyrdom and this desperate need to like prove your worth, when as a woman you don't need to prove your worth. You are worthy just by being a feminine being. You are worthy, and you don't have to keep doing things to make yourself worthy. Please know that. Please know you're worthy of healing. So I highly suggest you check out my Recovering Pick Me Girl guided journal if you haven't already. I know some people have been picking it up and I've been getting some great feedback on that. You can also check out my Dark Feminine Energy guided journal, which is actually my more popular guided journal. I've been getting a ton of great feedback on this one as well, and that will help you to connect with your dark feminine energy, which will help you to learn to set boundaries, stand up for yourself, connect to your like wild woman, and really kind of like find yourself deeper and really connect to your dark feminine energy, which, as much as I love light feminine energy, I really do, like connecting to dark feminine energy is, I mean, let's be real, it's more fun. So if you have any thoughts on this video, let me know. Be sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. I love your feedback. And honestly, any engagement on this channel really does help to boost the videos in the algorithm so more people can get this message. You can check out links to my guided journals available on Amazon. The links are in the description box below, along with links to courses, masterclasses, and all my social media links. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time.